my cans suggest I've got a slightly tinny sound. I'm like one of those. That's. Do you know
what you've got?
A snare drum.
Stop talking.
And the only sort of qualifying criteria is that you have to be able to get here in 10 minutes, so that you're local.
Oh wow, easy peasy.
Which of course you are.
We could have walked here in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Kevin Shepherd, hello.
How'd you do? You all right?
Comedian.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
one of those. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's my first job title.
Comedy production guru, apparently.
Close. Director. Close. Yeah.
Director. And writer?
Yeah. Right. Direct. I just don't say it. I do everything except speak it for them. That's what happens. Yeah.
This is what I heard.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty hectic time of year, January through till September.
Plus,
Yeah.
Plus you've done Edinburgh.
Yeah, I've done Edinburgh a few times. Done a few car-based shows in Edinburgh myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like cars, so made sense to write about.
Would you call yourself a motorsport journo as well? Because I think that was.
Do you think I'd be pushing it? We did get a media pass one year, but that was only because you gave the guy in the media office some cookies.
I wonder what you were going to say then.
Yeah, because you gave that guy some cookies.
Yeah. So
yeah, I've blagged
you're
it once
also
or
a
twice.
filmmaker. You see, you've got to really sell this. He's a comedian, director, and filmmaker. That's what you are.
Wow, thanks, babe.
That's all right.
Thanks.
Can I check I've got the right Diane Spencer first of all?
Yeah, you definitely have.
Highly acclaimed stand-up comedian.
Yeah, and alive, ta-da! Which I realise is not necessarily the most popular way of comparing myself to a much beloved princess of the people by going, yay, I'm alive and she's not, wah, wah. But she still beats me in Google searches, so...
Well, yeah, that's always going to happen, isn't it?
I'm allowed to be a little bit bitter. She's going to be way more famouser than I will ever be, so that's cool.
But you're also a writer, comedy writer, aren't you?
I am. I once wrote a play for Nancy DeLolio, but she went around telling everybody that I was only editing it. And then when she failed to learn the words, I agreed.
Was Nancy DeLolio that kind of very kind of glamorous
Italian woman.
wife of Sven Göran?
Oh,
No.
she was not a
That's the
wife.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the girl.
Yeah, but she was not a wife.
Was she more than a wife?
No, she was the girlfriend.
Oh.
So you get wags, wives and girlfriends. She was in the G category there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're an actress as well?
I am. I've done... I mainly do commercials, which seem to really suit me because I sort of turn up and I'm a bit bonkers for about a day, and they condense that into 30 seconds of manageable viewing. But what's quite nice is that I've always wanted to write sitcoms and things, and it's only recently that I've developed the sort of confidence to make my own web series and act in them. So that's quite nice. It's branching out into something closer to what I want it to be, because we've all got dreams.
We'll come to the singing later.
Or please don't.
Can I pin you to a local kind of area, Surbiton? Is that right, Surbiton?
Yeah, Surbiton will do. Well, we're sort of Chessington now, really,
Oh
aren't we?
yeah.
Well, we're
That's close
all
enough.
over the place. Yeah, we're sort of because my sister was born in Kingston General Hospital. I went to Coombe Hill, then I went to Surbiton Girls' School. Then for some reason we moved out to Dorset, which was really not what you want to happen when you're a child. You don't want to go to the country where there's nothing. It's just all green.
But you're from Worcester, aren't you?
I was born in Worcester.
Worcestershire.
Yeah, Worcestershire. We mainly have hobbits and saws. And
Sauce?
Worcestershire sauce.
What has the Hobbit got to do with sauce?
Because it's a shire.
Desolation of sauce. I mean,
and then I kind of moved back here a lot later, and I live with my friend who lives in Tolworth, but she tells everybody it's Surbiton.
They do that.
Well, that's because she's an estate agent, she knows what happens. She knows how house prices are affected. And she's like, no, I live in Surbiton. I'm like, mate, it says Tolworth on your road sign.
Yeah, but that's why I don't understand. How are people going to come round and go, oh, no, wait. It is Tolworth, but you said it was Surbiton, so that's all right. We'll definitely pay you everything you're asking for.
Yeah, not can we have some money off?
Yeah.
You lied.
Nowhere near Surbiton. You liar.
Tolworth's doing good, though. It's on the up and up.
Probably
Yeah.
because of that.
All the
that
lying.
that kind of activity.
Yeah. Just the broadening of Surbiton.
Yeah. And then I lived in Maple Road for a bit in Surbiton. And then we lived together in Minstrel Gardens in Surbiton, which is very close to Berrylands
Or Surbiton.
Berrylands is a part of Surbiton. There are 4 boroughs to Surbiton, of which Berrylands is one. Surbiton Hill is another.
You're joking. Is Berrylands part of Surbiton?
Yeah.
It's the smelly bit.
Yeah, it really is.
I heard a
Smelly bit.
lady on the train call it Smellylands.
Have you ever been on the train going up to London in the height of summer, and the doors open at Berrylands, and it fills the train with stink?
Mate, we...
You can tell it's serious when Diane goes, mate. She may have moved to Dorset and been under duress, but there are parts of her speech that are still and will forever remain Dorset. Mate, I tell you what, stinks of slumming out there.
Honestly, like, oh my God, you changed my accent when you said that. So when we lived in Minstrel Gardens, we were right in the stink path. Like the weather would show like rain and the brown cloud over our little house, and we lived there during the really hot summer that we had a couple of years ago, and we were lying there in bed, and we had this sort of talk. We were like, well, we can either literally suffocate of heat exhaustion
Keep the windows shut.
And keep the windows shut.
Yeah.
Or we can have the smell of hot, raw sewage on a breeze.
And never want to eat again.
So, yeah, that was fun. Yeah, the landlord lived in Dubai. So when it was wintertime and the flat was really cold, we were like, we're cold. She's like, I live in Dubai. And we're like, okay. But, now we live in Chessington.
The world of adventures.
Very nice.
Yep, it's very nice. We do like it.
Do you remember when it was just a zoo, and it had green polar bears?
Green polar bears?
They had famously had a green polar bear up there because
they couldn't clean the algae.
Because of the algae, so it was swimming around in algae, and it was bright green, and it was so miserable. I remember seeing it when I was a kid. It was the most depressed-looking polar bear.
Just sitting around.
And just had that constant look on its face. I know I'm green.
Oh.
What do you want me to do about it? What can I do?
That's deeply
Sounds
sad.
horrible.
I mean, like, it's bad enough you kind of you sort of take it out of your natural climate, but then to have that. I mean, I lived briefly in New Zealand, and I do remember there was a story where many of the meerkats died of depression in the zoo. And I went to Auckland Zoo, and it is a fantastic zoo. I mean, it is amazing. Like, they have really gone to town in creating these beautiful habitat enclosures. It was the first time
taxidermy section must be something to write home about.
That's the gift shop,
Oh,
Kev.
okay.
It's not taxidermy.
You can actually buy a dead meerkat from
Looking
Auckland Zoo.
depressed. But yeah, it's interesting because when you do go and see animals in captivity and they happen to be green or depressed, you can really see it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Simples. Oh, no, sorry. How well do you know around here?
What, this little
Do you know
bit here?
do you know Hampton Court Village? Well, it's just Bridge Road actually, but it's.
I was going to say,
Do you ever-
village is such a grand term.
We spent a lot of time one weekend in... I can't remember why, because there's lots of antique shops there, aren't there?
Yeah.
And second-hand shops, bric-a-brac.
There's a brilliant one in that little
We
Hampton
were looking
Court
for
Road.
something, weren't we?
Well, yeah, because it was during our doing up the house phase, and what happened was we were convinced that we could also do up furniture. Like, you know, when you sort of you start redecorating your house and you're like, well, why am I just painting the walls? I'm gonna buy old knackered chairs and I'm gonna paint them as well. And so we went to Narnia in Kingston upon Thames. It's not called Narnia, it's the...
Opposite, it's next to Fabric
It's
Land.
near Fabricland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
that
know
one.
Yes.
Yeah. He's
the
pointing...
one shop front.
for the camera people, he's pointing at a Fabricland bag. Yeah, because we call it Narnia because you think it's just a shop.
Yeah.
But you go in and then you go further and further and further in, and suddenly you realise it's 2 floors. It's all over the place. There's lots of little alcoves, stuffed meerkats, and there's a little cafe, and they do really
Yes.
nice plum crumble
Polish
cake.
cafe.
Yeah, the plum crumble cake in that cafe is great.
Apart from that, the place is just full up with old furniture that people have done up and painted already.
Yeah. And we saw that one weekend and thought, you know what, that table's probably not worth 70 quid, but if we painted it...
Yeah, we
it'll
went
be
a bit
worth
mad
70
though.
quid.
Yeah.
Still in the shed, actually.
Yeah.
Painted or unpainted?
No, totally unpainted. Still got the label on from when it came home from the charity shop. Still got the price tag, so we know exactly how much money we wasted on a stupid endeavour.
But
We look at
also
it every time.
in Hampton Court, there's that great fabric shop because there is a fabric shop. Yes, yes, and they have an amazing cloth which has a Star Trek design on it, and it's got like all the Star Trek captains on this bit of cloth. I was like, what?
It's actually a specialist sewing, embroidery, and patchwork quilting
Cross stitch.
emporium.
Oh,
But that's what they specialise in. Yeah, patchwork quilting.
I
Yeah,
see.
it's
Your
quilting,
mum would
isn't it?
love that. In fact, your mum was with us.
That's the only reason we went. Because I'm sure we went there for something for them, or they were looking for an ornament for the garden or something
Oh
like that.
yeah.
We said, we know just the place. It's round the corner.
Uh-huh.
Because we practically live at Hampton Court with our Chessington house.
I love Hampton Court. As a child, we didn't go round it because my dad's like, it belongs to the royal family, therefore it should be free. But it's not free. But my dad's kind of like that with a lot of expensive landmarks. So we've driven past some of the most amazing places and not stopped. Dad will stop if it's free entry and there's a cake shop. So I've been into the National Portrait Gallery so many times. It's still a fantastic place. But yeah, we used to drive past and walk around the outside of Hampton Court a lot when we were children. But I went as an adult and I took the audio guide.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's great.
It is good.
It's really good because there's a point where you're in the kitchen and they're talking, and I love a pork pie. But to have an audio pork pie whilst I'm in a Tudor kitchen with the sound
effects.
Yeah, the Tudor kitchen's
Hustle
talking
and
about
bustle.
it. And they're like, oh, and they never used to eat the pastry. And you're like, are you nuts? That's like, I mean, what is a pork pie without the... Like, that's just mashed up kind of...
Pork.
Oh,
Pork and jelly.
oh, that is just rough.
Come on.
Was Tudor pastry the same as it is now? Was it?
No,
Or was
they-
it to have sand in it and
Yeah, no,
twigs?
it was literally hard. I don't think there was any flavour. There was no butter, was
It was
there?
the skin of peasants and no butter. So you would rip off the top of your pie, eat the contents of the pie, which was actually more of a stew, according to the Hampton Court audio guide. And then you would throw away the pie case. So, I mean, it's not just pork pies I love. I love all sorts of pies. And in fact, Kevin, you discovered your real true love of pies because he wasn't a pie lover. When he went to... You weren't, and you're still not, but you were converted when you went to Pie Face in Melbourne. He directed somebody in the Melbourne Comedy Festival.
This is
Pie
an
face.
interesting mashing of the facts, but it's one of the joys of being married to a comedian is they'll change.
Oh, I should have mentioned that.
Yeah, we're married.
The-
So
the-
what
the-
actually
the-
happens is there's the truth somewhere in there, and there's Di's version of the story, which is always me being way more exciting than I normally am. But I've liked pie since I was about 4, I'd say. I've been a pie fan for... There's no way that my parents would let me sit in here and say that I don't like pie. In fact, every time a pie is put on a table in our house, you will hear someone say the words, "I like pie."
Is that
Because
me?
apparently when I was 3 years old, my nan brought out a pie.
Oh.
She put it on the side and I just sort of sat, as a kid would, looking at the pie going, "I like pie. I like pie, give me the pie." So I was waiting for the... So now, anytime a pie arrives in a house, somebody will say,
Were you from the West Country as well, or was
Not
that
at
just...
all, but that's just the way that apparently I said it, so that's
I
how
like
it's
pie.
stuck. It's just one of those things, you know.
Yeah.
This is news to me, you know, because Kevin is immensely healthy. He goes to the gym in New Malden 6 times a week, and I try to buy pie.
Oh, I don't eat pie now.
I know, which is why this is a massive revelation to me.
Well, it's just pie's butter and lard and fat and...
It's more than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, way more.
It's chicken and gravy.
Yes, exactly. It's not a good food product. So I wouldn't eat it. I don't eat McDonald's either. But if you'd have asked me about 5 years ago if I like McDonald's, I'd have told you it was the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah.
I remember that the first pucker pie I had
Okay.
was in Bermondsey, and a friend of mine took me out for a lunch. And he said, "Have you ever had a pucker pie?" And I went, "No,
I've had some all right pies."
He said, "You got to have a pucker pie." And it was for some reason it was upside down. It was in a chip shop and it was upside down. You know why they do that? Why do they do that?
Upside down, put a hole in the bottom, and then squeeze the vinegar in.
Oh right, pie and mash. So, my proper pie and mash shop with the vinegar
always,
and the liquor and
then
upside down. That's right. Yeah.
I do love fish and chips.
Smack
Sorry.
a hole in it. Even me, the non-pie expert, apparently knows all
No,
about pies.
because you rediscovered your love of pies because you were
Yeah, I went
directing a
to
show that went
Melbourne.
to Melbourne, and the guy flew Kev out to direct his show in the Melbourne Comedy Festival. And in Australia, they have a brand of shops called Pie Face, and all the pies have got little faces drawn in sauce on them to show what flavours they are. And you rediscovered your love of pies,
It's totally true.
which leads us back to Hampton Court.
Do they have that here, pie face? Do you
Pie face,
think
No,
pie
not
face,
yet.
it's on its way?
Okay. If a Pie Faced opened anywhere in the local vicinity, I think they do really well.
Yeah.
Would you be down there like somebody outside an Apple store?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like,
And you
"Where's
come out with the
steak and
first
cheese?"
pie.
I want my iPie.
Camping overnight, giving interviews to the Daily Mail.
Talking of versions of stories, I think I know Di's version of your proposal, your marriage proposal. What's your angle on it?
My angle
Kev?
on it is, Di's version is different. My angle is, I knew I was going to marry my wife, so I faked a gig in the Walkie-Scorchy, which is, what's it actually called?
20 Fenchurch Street.
20 Fenchurch Street. You know the Walkie-Scorchy? Does that make anything?
Well, the walkie-talkie, it's
I
a
know
skyscraper.
Fenchurch Street. I didn't know.
The Walkie-Scorchy is a building that is sort of angled like that, and it's round at the back. So
Got
it's
you.
angled like that, and what actually happened is the sun bounced off the windows and
set
melted a
things-
BMW and a bookshop on
Set
fire.
fire to a book
So
shop.
they called it for the Walkie-Scorchy until they put some baffling on the front.
And this is the one with the restaurants and the Sky Bar and all of that stuff.
It's got a sky garden. It's
And which
cool.
Di really loved. So I planned a fake gig up there, and it was just a ruse to get Di to, obviously, this
Turn up.
to turn up, so I pop the question. But
I'm that mean with my time.
she
Needs to be a
She
gig.
really hated the gig. She
The
hated the
i-
idea
the
of the gig. So she was
concept of
just
the gig.
grumpy. We were going to be early, so I couldn't have that. I was like, we've got to be there at 5:30 because the restaurant doesn't open till 5:30. So we just turn up. If we turned up before then, that would be a real no because they're just going to go, "What are you talking about? The restaurant doesn't open till 5. There's no gig. There's no comedy here. What are you talking about?" So I had to wait for the right time. So we were late, but we weren't. So Di is grumpy as you like.
I do not like being late. I cannot be late for work.
Either way. Whatever you don't like, disclaimers aside, she was angry. The only thing that meant that I'm walking behind her because she was storming off.
Did you ever think, oh, maybe I'll just give it a miss this
No,
time?
Ian, he didn't. All right? No. I'm a dream, okay? I'm a dream.
Let's just say if we were here alone, the answer would be different. What kept me going, was knowing that what I was going to do. So I knew what I was going to do. So it was actually quite nice to see someone just literally tying a noose around their neck and just attaching it to a tree. Just keep, you carry on. No, you carry on. You want to be angry? That's fine with me. So we get all the way up to the top. After the security guard, I said, look, mate, there's a ring in my pocket. I'm going to give it to you. But please don't make a mention of it when you get it out, because they put everything through a metal detector. They search you, and so just...
I'd gone through first angrily because we were late.
So don't put angrily.
That must have been stressful, man.
Yeah, it was
stressful.
It was a stressful gig anyway. It was a stressful
For me!
Why
I was late.
She wasn't late. She was just grumpy. So anyway, the guy, took this guy this instruction, and he looks...
Come on to your mic a bit.
Yeah, sorry. I give the guy that instruction, and he passes me the coat, but in the most hammy way. Here's your coat, sir. But all of the staff now know what's going on because he's told them, so they're all looking at Diane, who's already grumpy, but now she's saying, I mean, can we swear? Are you going to beat this? I mean,
no, swear away.
Swear away, because she says, what the fuck are they looking at? I don't know, darling. Let's get in the lift.
When he's doing the hammy coat hand to Kev, I'm there jabbing the lift. I'm like, come on, let's get on.
There we go. So this is the most romantic evening of your life.
Yeah, but it's better if
so
you've got
anyway,
a story.
less disclaimers, thank you. So we get up in the lift, we get up to and I know that there's no gig, and we go up the flights of stairs, and she's just creating merry hell, and I'm just trying to all the time I'm trying to look for a place to propose because I haven't planned this. I don't know, there's not a spot reserved for me to go and do this, and it's made all the more difficult by Di rushing and sort of hollering. We won't say shouting. So in the end I said, could you sit down please, just sit down, we need to talk about something. She'd sit down, and she just starts wailing on about the gig some more and us being late, and in the end I literally have to say, sit down, like in quite an aggressive way. So she sort of looks at me, still angry, and then I propose. I go on one knee. At this point she just starts crying quite a lot. And realises
this is my moment.
Yeah, this is the moment.
Did all of that anger kind of convert?
Just to tears.
Split moment, and then just go.
Well, you say not all of it, because after I proposed and she'd said yes and we'd all stopped crying, she said, so is there a gig or not? Because I could have really done with the money.
It was a joke.
Uh-huh.
I had to tell one joke that evening.
So we went and had a nice meal, and that was it.
Yeah, it was magic. And
Sorry.
Can you hear the dog?
No, I can't hear the dog. Can you hear the dog?
I can hear the dog.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
No, it was magic, and there are a couple of things I would like to add to that, and they're not disclaimers. They're just context. I had said, who's the gig for? And he had pointed out some kind of insurance brokers, or like it was a really wanky like city company. And I've gigged for people like that before.
To be honest, babe, the thing with that, because that's part of the excuse, or part of the ruse, is it has to be for somebody. I've got to do a gig for someone, and if she wants to check, she's going to look in the building. And I'll be honest with you, babe, in that building, in 10 Fench, although we love Fenchurch Street and the Sky Garden and the restaurants,
it's magic.
It's just chock full of wankers, babe. There's no other people in there. I was going to choose varying types of wanker all the way down that building from underneath the restaurant.
Honestly, the garden's so beautiful. It's so lovely. And I just thought, I was just gutted because I was like, we're late, and I just know that these people are going to look down on me anyway. And at that time, I was less confident in dealing with crowds that maybe aren't used to my sort of sense of humour. Like, as I've developed as a comedian, I like to think that I'm getting better now at knowing how to play different rooms. But at that time, when this all happened, I didn't have that confidence, and I was still developing that skill set. So I was just aware that I was late to a gig. I was going to die on my hole.
Disclaimers.
And then as we came in, the man who I love more than anything in the world is not being professional in any way, shape or form. And he seems to be avoiding the fact that we need to find somebody to explain, and he just seems to be on another planet. He's just completely on another planet. And there was actually a private party of city folk types happening, which, I don't want to be rude about them, because some city folk types are nice. But there was a group, like a private party, and I looked in and I thought that was our gig. And I looked in and I was like, okay, that is a very male, heavy kind of gig. And I was reading the crowd and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. And yeah, okay, that's the end of my disclaimers.
And it wasn't.
No, it was
I
magic.
hope your honeymoon was better. Did you squeeze up?
Well,
Did you squeeze one of those in, or did you? What happened there?
The thing with the honeymoon.
So we didn't go that year. We
Saved up went the next year.
Yeah, we went the next year, and so the first thing is that right before we went, we both had our teeth done. And by teeth done, we shopped around. There was one particular dentist in Submission who shall not be named, but sweetheart, if you can't fix the sign outside your dentist, you ain't fixing my teeth. And also, they were charging an astronomical fee, because I am very much I will shop around, and the fee that they were charging was literally 3 times what we ended up getting it for. And we got it done by Bridge at Mount Road Dental.
Honeymoon.
I don't mind. Yes, sorry. Anyway, so we both had.
We can talk about anything. We can talk about teeth. Did you have
Honestly, no, don't
showbiz
talk about
teeth, like veneers?
No. We have
braces.
teeth.
Braces.
braces.
Train track braces. That went yellow within a week.
A
of them
week,
being
an
on.
hour.
Yeah, so they looked like we smoked about 50 cigarettes a day.
We've both got these massive braces, proper when you're 15 and you get the brace. Yeah, we've both got those on both sets, and they
were
are
white.
painful.
Yeah, they rip your mouth to shreds, don't they?
They
on the inside.
Oh,
Ulcers.
yeah, really painful. And you know what? So easy to eat noodles with, because we went to Thailand, and so when we get there, we've both got these braces on, and as we're driving to the hotel, the flight wasn't that easy because I'm not very good at flying. But then we got there, and
It was like the wedding proposal Mark II.
But
over 24 hours.
But you were angry this time.
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh.
I wasn't swearing.
I was more just kind of... No, you weren't.
I was meditating and writing my will.
And crying quite a bit.
I'm crying a bit. I'm a dream. So when we get there, though, we drive in this little minibus, and as we're driving there, I can see these signs everywhere saying evac route, and there's a picture of a person running away from a big wave, and I'm like, what's the evac route? And then Kev reveals
The reason the holiday's cheap is because we're in a tidal wave zone. Tsunami zone. Yeah, well, tidal wave tsunami. You can give it whichever name you like.
it moved a boat
Yeah,
so
it
far
was,
inland that they've not moved it back, and they've made a museum around it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Cowlack. So yeah, so that's why it was cheap.
But lightning doesn't strike twice, though,
No,
does it?
exactly. And but
Tsunamis, on the other hand.
You say lightning doesn't strike twice. There was another reason it was cheap. The reason it was cheap is because we went in the rainy season. Have you ever been to Thailand in the rainy season?
Oh, God.
We bought so many clothes, like specialist clothes, that you'd never need to buy again, just to survive the rainy season in Thailand. But it was great.
But at least they were cheap clothes, probably. You could probably pick up a nice, a fake North Face jacket for...
Oh, no, we bought them before we went. Because we knew...
Oh.
We knew before we went that it was the rainy season. We knew that it was going to be a mixture of horrible heat that you can't stand up in and rain.
So
Yeah.
when we first arrived, and it's like the sky is completely grey, dark grey, overcast, and the rain's coming. But we've just got there, and we're like, do you know what? let's just go to the beach. And we've got this great video. I decided to do a little video each day. And I start with a traditional Thai greeting of Sawadee ka. And we've got it. We've got this video. It's a beautiful video. And I'm there with the camera a bit too close with like my yellow teeth and my faces. But I've got this like cagoule that squashed my face. And I'm going, Sawadee ka. Day, I can't remember one in
Day
Thai.
one.
Yeah, day. I I can't remember the Thai word for one. But so in the background, so I'm there saying, we're here. And you just look up and it really looks like the cyclone's going to land. And then in the distance, you can see this pale Englishman stamping off to the sea. You look like Reginald Perrin, which is quite an old reference. But you do look like a man who's had enough and you're about to go take off all your clothes and drown
Walk into the
yourself
sea.
in the
Walk into the
sea.
sea. Yeah, that was it. But there were jellyfish in the sea, so we couldn't go in it.
Oh, the glamour.
Yeah,
So far, you're the most glamorous
oh, well.
people that
Really?
the Bunkum Lab has seen. So I'm kind of
I just
hoping.
spilt water. Does that help?
Yeah, your mouth is the next one up.
And then I got food poisoning on day 4.
Oh, it's
yeah.
bad out there. When you get food poisoning out there, I mean, the Far East, it really gets you.
does, yeah.
Because it's usually prawn related.
Oh, this was ice cube related.
Oh,
So?
Oh yeah, because I hadn't been ill until that point.
then
And
they
then
say don't have the rice, don't have the ice.
Yeah. Because I ordered this nice like coffee cocktail, but it had a load of ice cubes in it. Remember, we'd been warned, but I still drank it because I'd ordered it, and I'm like that. And then we went to the Thai boxing match that night, which was really quite funny because we sat on like rickety old scaffolding, like. And watching all the fights that started with the same bit of music each time. And the only time I've ever seen that is when I saw a fight between the Navy versus the Royal Marines. And they kept playing Eye of the Tiger at the start of every fight. It's like, dude, I'm sure there's another track. But nope.
It really isn't. Once you've played that,
Boxing, it's
That's
the
the track.
go-to track,
Yeah,
isn't it, for
you go-
boxing?
if you gave one person the Eye of the Tiger and not anyone else on the bill,
Next
there'd
person,
be real
next
trouble.
person's got
Yeah.
Katy Perry fireworks.
Yeah, it'd be like, what happened? I don't feel like fighting anymore. I just feel a bit sick.
So was it an ice cube or was it blood?
What?
Because those places are
Oh,
brutal,
yeah,
aren't
yeah.
they? There's
No,
blood
we were-
splashing around all over the place.
We were at the family-friendly one.
Yeah, we were at the Family Friendly, but they did
right.
sell like bonus tickets, like VIP tickets, which meant basically you got a plastic chair rather than scaffolding, and you were behind a bit of rope. But halfway through one of the fights, somebody got knocked out, and they're bleeding on the thing. But because they were bleeding on the thing, somebody in the VIP chairs passed out. So the doctor from the ring left the boxer who's fighting on the floor to attend to the VIP.
Because there's only one doctor.
Yeah. Sorry. So this guy's just on the floor bleeding. Gets up on his own steam and sort of wanders back to his corner.
Oh, well, he's going to be all
The
right.
doctor's just looking after the VIP. There's
Yeah.
dogs wandering about as well. I like the dogs.
And there were like just kids like hanging around, like eating their pot noodles, just enjoying. And we saw 2 kids.
I
And,
don't think they call them pot noodles in Thailand.
oh, well, they were pots with noodles in. Balls. So there was a little kid, and the electricity in Thailand is novel. Like they have multiple cables. And I mean a lot of cables. Like, I grew up in Dorset next to a pylon. I'm fine with electricity being right on my doorstep.
Oh, they have those kind of looms of
Yeah.
dodgy wiring going down
Yeah.
the middle of the high street.
Yeah, yeah,
And
just-
people just kind of reach up and put like a crocodile clip on something.
That'll be it.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
one yours or mine? No, it doesn't matter. They're all the same.
It's like, is there just one keyboard in town, but each key has its own wire? Like, it's just wires and wires and wires. But there was this wire coming down, which could have been to anything. But we saw these 2 kids like jumping out, like using the wire as like a jumping skipping rope. And so we're kind of half watching this fight, half watching this tourist faint, and the doctor running between the 2, and this kid like skipping on the national grid. And it was
Yeah, it was nice.
it was a fun
Good night out.
Yeah, it was a good night out. Yeah.
And then we got back and you spend the rest of the night just on
Dying.
the toilet.
Oh, I was dying. And so I had the night of doom, which I think everybody has when they get food poisoning, where you genuinely think, this might be it for me. God is literally squeezing me from the inside. Everything's coming out the top, the bottom. I'm just going to collapse in on myself.
Did you hallucinate? because sometimes it gets so bad you
Wow, no, I
you
must
can-
have.
yeah,
Have you had that?
with prawns.
Wow.
Yeah,
Prawns. The new
it
LSD.
happened to me on a boat.
Oh my
no.
God.
And I
feel sick
and we
just
made
thinking about it.
yeah, and we made it into this port in Mallorca, just on a small sailing boat. And I remember looking in this kind of forward bunk thing, looking out of this hatch, and there was a storm going on,
Oh,
and I dreamt or hallucinated there was a man with a machine gun and a black trench coat looking down the hatch at me. He
That's
wasn't.
terrifying.
It wasn't.
That's
it was.
fantastic.
But it was so real,
yeah.
surreal, so real.
Surreal, yeah. But that's great. That's proper illness hallucination.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, Kev would have just ridden that out. He'd have been like,
wow.
babe, you got to try the prawns. There's something. And I'm like, well, how many prawns do you get?
Yeah, how many prawns,
Faggity fat.
how many prawns do you
That's
need?
me, isn't it?
Let's do a half each.
Take the shell off, babe. Oh, just crush it up. There you go.